My name is Spencer and this is my MS story. It's actually the second time I've posted a my MS story video. I was standing exactly here a year ago when I first posted a video, and at that point I was fresh off being diagnosed with MS just a couple months before. But as I mentioned in that video, and I'll go ahead and put a card up here, I'd actually had symptoms of MS for like 15, 16, 17 years. And gone to various doctors and neurologists and been misdiagnosed. So this is an update to that original My MS Story video, 1 year later. And my plan next year is to post another update. I just want to sort of catalog how things are going, for better or for worse in the future, with me in relationship to having MS. On YouTube, I post a lot of other videos that have nothing to do with having MS. If you're used to watching those videos, I'm sorry, this one's not about building and construction and renovating a prison bus or anything like that. But instead, it is a My MS Story video 1 year later, and it connects up with all the other really cool My MS Story videos on YouTube. So many people with this disease have shared their experiences, and every single video I watch that is under that My MS Story heading is different. Everyone has just experienced this disease so differently, so that's just super valuable, and I just want to add to that. The bulk of this video is going to be about the 9 things that I've been doing to try to be well. Number 1, taking vitamin D. It's very established among neurologists and in all the medical research I've read. And I should say, I do have access to PubMed through my job, so I read quite a few academic articles about MS-related research, mainly stuff about diet and exercise, less about pharmaceuticals because I'm less interested in pharmaceuticals, but I have been reading some of that scholarship. And what I've seen is total agreement that vitamin D is important for people with MS. It's pretty much undisputed. That if your levels are low and you have MS, you're more likely to have an exacerbation. So I've been taking vitamin D regularly. I'm at about 5,000 units right now, and my D levels are up. I'm not going to say exact numbers, but they're up in the kind of high normal range, and I think that's helped a lot. I've also modulated my activity levels. I've always worked out and exercised, but I've tried to make that steadier with only gradual gains. I used to really like to hit it hard in the gym or running or working out and just get that kind of like deep muscle soreness, and I have not been doing that for the last year. Instead, I've been working very gradually on body weight exercises, and as you can see in this video right here, Melissa and I walk every day. Almost every day, and we usually walk about an hour and a half, and I switched to walking with her for some other reasons, but I think I've really benefited from it because it's mellow. I've also really tried to emphasize rest, sleep, and regularity in those patterns, so going to sleep at the same time, waking up at the same time, taking naps in the afternoon. And that restfulness has been something I struggled with at the beginning, almost like a young kid being told to be put down for a nap. But I've really adapted to that, and I think that regular sleep has been good. I also did quite a bit of work to think about what constitutes stress. Before having MS, I always thought of stress just being, you know, like if you're at work and you really have a deadline you need to hit or something like that's stress. But I've since learned to sort of expand my definition of stress to also include things like sunburns, getting drunk or eating bad food, or even just disrupting your regular rhythms of eating and sleeping and hydration and whatnot. So I've really shifted into a kind of like low stress mode, which involves trying to decrease the stress at work, definitely, but I've tried to decrease those things like getting really hot or getting really cold or ingesting alcohol or caffeine, which I think can really kind of disrupt your system and lead to stress, which can be a trigger for an episode. All right, I mentioned cool and heat, and it was a revelation to me when I first was diagnosed with MS that heat is related to MS. I just didn't know that. But you know, there's a long history of it being even thought of as a heat-related disease. It used to be that people were tested for MS by getting dunked in a hot tub. I definitely have challenges and struggles when it comes to the heat in the summertime. So I've worked really hard to develop systems to still be able to work outside and be outside and exercise outside and stay cool. I've got a few videos on YouTube, maybe I'll put a card up here to 1 or 2 of them, about cooling vests and cooling technology, and I'm all into that stuff. That's been helping me a lot. The best thing I've found to combat the heat is drinking cold water and taking a cold shower and getting in the lake. The next on my list is something that kind of touches on what I've been talking about already, but in general in life, I've been trying to not overdo it. Before being diagnosed, I think I was really defined as a person who was interested in excess. You know, like doing big stuff, like long road trips, back-to-back athletic things. And I've really tried not to overdo it since then, really tried to tone it down. And at first I kind of felt like that wouldn't be living, but I have really been doing a lot still since being diagnosed with MS and been very active. And I feel like just not overdoing it has not been that big of a challenge. It's just been like a new way of thinking. All right, number 7 on my list is the thing that it seems like most people who watch my MS story videos want to know about and think about, and that is drugs. My experience with pharmaceuticals is captured by a joke, and the joke goes like this. A guy walks into the neurologist's office for his annual MS-related visit. He's got his scans, he's got all his paperwork. The doctor says, "How you doing?" The guy says, "You know what? I'm feeling really good. I haven't had an exacerbation in a year. My symptoms are just like almost non-existent. I'm feeling vital and good and just really, really positive, doctor." The doctor sort of shakes his head and says, "Man, we've got to put you on a drug." And that really captures my experience. I have been told I need to be on drugs. I have studied those drugs. I have heard stories, anecdotal stories from others who have taken various drugs. And I just don't like what I see and hear. I've seen short trials and big consequences. As I mentioned in my previous video, I'm not really a candidate for Tysabri given my JC virus load. And I'm not really interested in the other drugs. The percentages of benefit that I see are not as high as what I've been experiencing in the last year. So there may be some of you who think I'm taking a huge risk and throwing my life away, and that's a possibility. It could be that this road I'm on of having MS and not being on a drug treatment is just riddled with danger and potholes and broken bridges. But I'm willing to take that risk. I'm not as interested in the drugs as some other people. And for me, it just really feels good to be, just to be like dealing with MS and experiencing MS as a sort of like a symbiotic relationship. It's something that I have. It's not something I'm fighting against. And it's something that I'm kind of coping with and learning to live with, as opposed to something that I'm trying to root out of my system with a pharmaceutical drug regimen. All right, 2 more things on my list of 9. Number 8 is diet. I have made some big changes to my diet. As I mentioned in the previous video, for the 20 or so years, I've been a vegetarian, but I was a vegetarian who ate just about anything that was vegetarian. I shifted to a kind of like a swank / Walls diet, mainly raw foods, a lot of vegetables, high nutrient stuff, trying to get a lot of oils. Like everything else on this list, I don't know if the diet is helping, but I don't think it's hurting. I'm happy eating what I'm eating. I seem to be doing pretty well on it, and I'm gonna keep eating the same stuff. And the last thing for me has been to constantly, in a few different ways, attend to the psychological dimensions of having MS. Even though it's a disease of the central nervous system, attacking your brain for some people, spine for others, both for others. Even though it's a physical disease, I feel like the psychological challenges have been the hardest for me. It's been really, for me, like a disease of the mind as much as a disease of the body. And that's just because at times I've found myself like just consumed with fear and worry. Consumed by MS, like it's all I've thought about. And I think that was worse a year ago than it is now, and that's really good. But it still can be something that's really overwhelming. It hasn't been easy. I'm hoping that in a year, when I post my 3rd My MS Story video, 19 years in, I'm hoping that I've managed to kind of figure out that psychological and social dimension of the disease a bit more. I still worry and kind of have fear of the future and like what's going to happen, like future impairment or pain or, oh God, I hope I don't have that type of exacerbation again, like some of the rough ones that I've had. So I find myself like thinking a lot about the future and living a little bit less in the present than I want to. All right, so that is my update on my MS Story video that I posted a year ago. Like I said, I'm gonna post another one of these in a year. I've been having a really wonderful remission that I've really been enjoying, and I hope that goes on, but it may not, because I know MS is a bumpy road full of surprises. But so far so good. It's been a really good year, and my MS story right now, like at this moment, 18 years into having this disease, year and a half after being diagnosed, my MS story right now is pretty positive.